Mitram and Bandhuvam, welcome to South Asia Maps. This is your presenter, Dr. J. Reddy. Today we are going to discuss about a very fascinating presentation as a part of human ecology and predicament, part 85, that is called 3 Acreages, Ecological Encourages, from the works of Dr. BorgStrom. He wrote a very interesting book, The Hungry Planet, around about mid-1960s. These concepts come from that book. And understanding these 3 Acreages will enhance your ability to think the historical perspective of the human heritage, ecological perspective of the human history and politics and contemporary society. Acreage means a land. We say in India acres, in agricultural we say hectares. That is 1 square kilometer equals to 100 hectares or 250 acres. 1 hectare is 2.5 nearly. There are 3 acreages: visible acreage, invisible acreage, fossil acreage. After this presentation, you will get a very clear picture of these acreages, how they affect us. Excuse me for my allergies. And this is my YouTube channel, South Asia Maps. There are J. Reddy. There are more than 30 playlists that contains nearly 300 and or so immaculately made presentations and varied diverse topics. You can go and look at them. This particular topic I will post in human ecology playlist. Dr. BorgStrom's work. Yeah. Visible acreage. Essentially a farmland or additional farmland. You saw that Dr. BorgStrom is from originally from Sweden, so that is the Swedish, that is the name for Sweden, their local name, and he was a professor of food science at Michigan State University, that is East Lansing, between close to Detroit, the city where the Ford built his automobile plants. Michigan State University. He lived 1912 to 1990. Dr. BorgStrom. 3 acreages: visible, invisible, fossil. Is additional farmland. Acreage essentially you need to think about. It produces our biological sustenance. Most of the time food is sufficient. You can also add fodder or wood products that we consume. Let's say this is a typical village in South India. The region where I come from, City districts, Rayalaseema in Deccan, 20 square kilometers means 2,000 hectares. 20 and 100, 2,000. That is round about 5,000 acres of land, village. 50% is arable, farmable, round about 1,000 hectares. This is visible for us in our village. Let's say there are 300 people live in this village. All the food, fodder, wood requirements come from this village, totally isolated, presumed, and nowhere else. That is visible acreage where you can see. If you continue life like that, a simple agricultural farm life, you will live forever. That means the carrying capacity is there indefinitely because you are not dependent anywhere else. That is visible acreage. All your biological sustenance of a nation comes from its domain, that is visible farmland. Instead of village, you can think is a district or even a province, even a country like United States or Pakistan or Bangladesh or India. That is visible acreage. All your sustenance came from them. Let's say the population of that particular village is more. Instead of 300, let's say 500. And we don't produce enough food or fodder and some wood product. And we import from a nearby village or a distance village, that is invisible. People in this village still will be eating well and doing their normal activities. Now that where their sustenance, additional sustenance comes from other village is called invisible acreage. Suppose that village no more sends them these products, they don't conduct any trade, whatever reason, or blockaded. That means this village, they have to raise additional farmland to produce that food and fodder and wood products. That's called invisible acreage. Imagine there are already this, they don't have any additional farmland they cannot do. Then their nutritional status, they undergo famine, starvation, even the deaths also. So that is the visible acreage, this is invisible acreage. Then what is the fossil acreage? Let's say fossil means essentially detritus, the decaying dead organic matter, other name for oil, coal and gas, fossil fuels. These are historically ancient photosynthetic products of microorganisms under high pressure and heat converted into oil and coal. They are the feedstock, means basic material from which combiners, harvesters, automobiles, mechanized agriculture, the pesticides, fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers are produced. Synthetic fertilizer made from the gas, urea fertilizer. If we are following the industrial agriculture in this village, that means certain acreage comes from the fossil, the historical past that you may not see, but that's what is happening. That means now you can practice industrial agriculture and yields will be very high. More people can be fed that land temporarily. Suppose that oil drum will collapse, that will be almost by 2050 there will be very little oil on the planet. Earth will not have access to most of these resources, modern industrial products, fertilizers. At that time we cannot produce that food. That means if the fossil acreage is deprived, what you need to do? You need to have additional farmland to make up that food that today is produced from fertilizers and based pesticide. That is called fossil acreage. So there are three important ecological acreages that we should be aware. Take for example a country, let's say Saudi Arabia, used to have only 2 million people around about 1900. Now it has 30 million people. It has a very little visible acreage. Pastoral economy, only in the Asir or Janjan and Abba region has some agriculture. So that is the visible acreage that nation can see. But they are enjoying a lot of invisible acreages, means most of their food comes from food exporting nations such as Australia and also comes from the Europe. That means essentially if the trade relations collapse and they have to mobilize the additional farmland which they don't have, their visible acreage is very small and their invisible acreage is very, very large. Take for example other country like Pakistan imports a lot of oil, follows the modern industrial agriculture, green revolution, and those industrial agricultural products, pesticides, fertilizers are not coming due to oil scarcity. That means it will lose its fossil acreage. This habitat can be a small village, a district, a province, even the entire country. So that is a very, very important concept. Visible acreage that you can see within your country, your frontier, your domain, the farmland that gives our sustenance. Invisible that comes from elsewhere, the neighboring country, neighboring territory, distant territory, which we are not able to see, but we'll get it by exchanging trade relations, establishing trade relations with them. visible acreage, invisible acreage. If that invisible acreage misses, you have to have additional farmland in their own country. Then the fossil acreage, the historical acreage, photosynthetic products, fossil fuels that provides a lot of food and wood and products. If those demise due to depletion of oil drum on the planet Earth, you need to mobilize additional farmland, that is fossil acreage. Hope that this will put you in very good perspective in analyzing the contemporary events, and we discussed all these the important concepts in the first 50 or so concepts. We looked at the carrying capacity, taking over, drawing down, new world, Homo colossus, that is a giant human being compared to Homo sapiens. Ecological exuberance leads to emotional exuberance. Detritus ecosystem. Detritus is essentially decaying dead organic matter. Then some ecological Acreages broadly. Now we discussed it a little more deep. And carrying capacity, phantom carrying capacity. What are the niches? Ecological niches, economic niches, social niches, political niches. The ecological overshoot, bloom and crash, diachronic competition, cornucopian paradigm, and so on. And population, human predicament, human impasse, low pressured, the regions that have very low carrying capacity like Alaska, Siberia, so on, years of exuberance and all those things we discussed before. And then we talked mostly about the population, important countries. There are 8 billion humans on the planet Earth. India contributes every decade for 10 years, 100 million or so, and we looked at that. Some important Indian provinces, and they contribute. Uttar Pradesh, United Province, contributes around about 33 million or 35 million per year to India or planet Earth. Then current, we looked at George BorgStrom, food scientist, originated from Sweden, worked most of the time at United States, Michigan State University, East Lansing in Michigan. His concept of 3 acreages, visible acreage, invisible acreage, and ecological view of this additional farmland, we looked at it today. Mitram and Bandhuvam, appreciate joining me, and very glad to know any of your feedback and comments. And if you like the presentations, please subscribe the channel and bring it to the notice. And you are always welcome to post your comments and any compliments or criticisms what you want to listen in this series: Human Ecology, Predicament, Indian History, Culture, Heritage, and Global Geography. This is your presenter, Dr. J. Reddy, South Asia Maps Education Channel. See you later.